eat more fermented food. If you forget everything that I say today, remember this: the biggest message from the microbiome is everything is connected, and those connections are ancient, and they're almost all microbial, and fermentation is the medium in which they're connected.
Hey friends, welcome to Keep It Simple Sexy. I'm Bullock, founder of KO Body Care, certified fitness trainer, and mom of 3 little girls who's just trying to juggle it all and feel as good as possible, all while helping you do the same. I'm so grateful that you're here. Now let's get started, sexy. This episode is brought to you by KO Body Care, the leader in face-grade body care and supplements for total body wellness. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Keep It Simple Sexy. I hope you're having a beautiful day, a simple day. Don't we all need one of those? Well, today we are going to talk about simplicity, and I love that, getting back, right, to the simple things, what we're all about here at Keep It Simple Sexy. We live in a culture of innovation and learning, and with our skin and wellness, we tend to follow suit, embracing the latest potions and procedures. It sounds great, but the downside is a lack of simplicity and sustainability in our purchasing power and our products. We as consumers think we need the next newest thing to keep up with science. Brands provide us with products loaded with extra ingredients, by the way, most of which are wasted in efficacy on our skin because they're in such a low quantity. They add synthetic ingredients with plenty of preservatives, and they focus on the symptoms instead of treating the source of our concern. Look, I'm guilty myself, but it was Larry Weiss, the founder of Symbiome, who reignited my passion for simplicity in my daily beauty routine and in turn other aspects of my life. Symbiome is a microbiome R&D company rooted in science that has created a postbiotic line of skincare to pave the way to healthy skin. Its goal is to return to simplicity in skin needs. In fact, it only has 10 or less ingredients in all of its products. And that way it's creating something pure, unadulterated, while restoring the skin's natural resilience, health, and beauty. Larry is a leader in the microbiome and life sciences community with over 20 years on the forefront of innovation, developing clean, safe, and non-toxic household and skincare products. He leads an esteemed group of PhD microbiologists and dermatologists who have created Symbiome's cutting-edge research of the microbiome and its role in skin health. Larry has a medical degree from Stanford University and a bachelor's of science in biochemistry from Cornell University. He has over 20 patents and publications in the areas of chemistry, electrophysiology, clinical pharmacology, and the microbiome. We also have the honor of speaking with Julia Durack, the VP of Research and Development at Symbiome. She also has an extensive knowledge and research experience in clinical microbiology, the human microbiome, and its role in health and disease. She has a PhD in food microbiology and a bachelor's of science in biomedical science. Welcome to the show. That's the most degrees we've had on the show, I believe.
A lot. It seemed like a lot when you were saying it, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, whew, it's a tongue twister towards the end there. Well, I am utterly so impressed by both of you. I love, my viewers know we just love science here, and we love to really break it down in simple terms so that the viewer really understands it. And so I feel honored to have you guys on the show.
Thank you for inviting us.
And Larry mentioned he has a new grandchild, and Julia has 2 kids under 4. And so we all, yeah, even to be here. Yeah. So I appreciate it. Well, let's just dive in, because that tongue twister, I had to say microbiome so many times. What is a microbiome, and what is its role in skin?
Julia,
big question to start.
I'm gonna let Julia take this.
Very excited to talk about microbes. That's what I do.
Yeah.
So the skin microbiome is a collection of microbes, bacteria, fungi that live on our skin. We're just beginning to understand the importance of skin microbiome in our health. But what we do know is skin microbiome is important in keeping our skin barrier strong and healthy. And it does so in a number of ways, including preventing pathogenic colonization, keeping our skin pH acidic, and training our immune system for skin that is not over sensitive. So a lot, but it's very early days, and we're, like I said, just beginning to understand its true importance for health.
Yeah, you would think like most people hear of bacteria and we whip out the facial cleanser. But just like in the gut, I imagine there's good bacteria and there's bad bacteria for the skin as well.
Yeah, let me touch on that. First, the simplest answer to what the skin microbiome is, it's you. It's as much you as the parts of your body that you can see and feel. It's been invisible to us until relatively recently, when we developed methods by which we could actually make it visible. And that's by sequencing the DNA and discovering that most of the DNA that we think of as us isn't us. It's all these microbes. We live in a microbial world. Almost all of the life on this planet is microbial. Again, it's been invisible. The only time we were able to see it was when something went wrong and we got sick. And so we came to think of microbes and germs, and as a germ theory of disease, that it was the presence of some bad actor that triggered some sort of problem that we had. With this company, we're trying to advance something a little different, a germ theory of health. And that is, in the germ theory of health, this complex ecosystem in which we are enveloped. In fact, we emerged from it. It nurtures us, and it is essential to our health. It is the wellspring for our health. When that is all in balance and everything is functioning normally, everything works fine. But once it goes out of balance, if we do things which trigger it to go out of balance, that can set in motion a series of events, the last of which will be the proliferation of some bad actor. So we think of things as good or bad germs, but it's really an oversimplification of the fact that it's a whole ecosystem. And when the ecosystem is functioning properly, everything goes smoothly. But if we do things that actually intentionally or unintentionally set things out of balance, we can see all of the stuff that we don't see behind it results in this last event. Here's an interesting way to think about it. Everyone knows the game Jenga.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like that's my life.
It is. Okay. So imagine that we are a Jenga tower, and each block is a unit of genetic and metabolic function that is the result of millions of years of evolution. Now, we started off as hunter-gatherers, and we lived deeply connected with the environment and the other people in our community. But as we evolved, we made decisions and we pulled those blocks out. Now, if the tower was 300 blocks tall, only one of those would be human DNA. All the rest are microbial. And so as we made decisions, we pulled blocks out. The tower still stands, it just becomes less resilient, less able to respond to stress. And over time, we've pulled a lot of blocks out. The difference is now that the tower is very unstable. So we can do things, and that will trigger things that we think of as disease. Almost all of those are inflammatory. And we can't see the missing blocks because we're all missing them. So what we've lost is our resilience. And I want to build this notion of resilience around health. So when we think about health, everyone's concept of health today is just not being sick. And everyone's concept of wellness is the idea that I can make decisions to forestall the inevitable onslaught of disease. But what we have learned with our research is, from an evolutionary biology standpoint, health is the resilience in response to stress, the ability to bend without breaking. And we have lost so much resilience that even a slight stress can trigger this. What this company is about is restoring the resilience so that we bend and we don't break. We're not fixing broken things. We're restoring the system to its evolutionary state where it had resilience.
So it made me think too, like even in beauty, because you're talking health and wellness, obviously beauty is just as related to that. But when we're talking, since you have a skincare brand, it's like people are always chasing the wrinkle after it's there or chasing the next treatment instead of just building a great foundation and not having to chase anymore, standing confidently, right? And I love that word resilience because that's really what it is, especially in our new environment, internal and external stressors everywhere. That should be our main focus, is the resilience. So you basically said the ancestral microbiome, where we were at and where we're at now. It may be a simple question, but for those who don't know, what are the stressors, inflammatory, outside, inside, that have affected our microbiome?
How long do you have? Look, we live in a modern world and we are exposed. There's a word, it's called the exposome. Okay, the things that we are exposed to. So these are pollution. All of these chemicals that we use to live in a modern world that we get exposed to that never existed on this planet until we made them in a laboratory recently. What we have learned is that if you look at the health of hunter-gatherers, they don't have any inflammatory diseases at all, but we do. Six out of 10 of us have one. 4 out of 10 of us have two, and now 1 out of 4 children has atopic dermatitis or eczema, and that's an inflammatory disease. And if you follow those children for 5 years, 90% will be carrying an inhaler, and I'll have 1 or more food allergies. So all of these stresses have taken a relatively brittle system, and now they manifest themselves. And you mentioned wrinkles there, and what I would tell you is that there is clinical inflammation, what you can see, things like acne or eczema or rosacea or psoriasis. It's clinical because you can see it. And then there's subclinical inflammation that you can't yet see, but it accumulates over time. And that's the kind of thing that damages your tissues. And the more inflammation, the more things like wrinkles and thinning of the barrier and other things that we see. Look, health is beautiful. And your skin is the biomarker for your health. It's the one you can see in the mirror every morning. And so, and this, everybody knows this.
That's what we really stand on here.
It's
Yeah,
a reflection
absolutely.
of your health, of your
Yep.
internal health, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think one thing that Larry also mentioned earlier, balance. It's all about balance. And one thing that we have lost in our Western world is a connection to the natural environment. We spend most of our time indoors, actually exposed to a lot of allergens and microbes that are not necessarily healthy for us.
Even I guess I've heard in the blue light, all of that of, being on our computers as well. So, wow, it's everywhere. So we really do need to think about what we can be providing back. And so, Larry, how did the idea then, after all of this research, come about for Symbiome?
So anyone who is paying attention in medicine and healthcare over the past 30 years has noticed that the incidence of inflammatory disease has been increasing.
Yeah.
And the healthcare system has responded with all sorts of drugs to modulate our immune system's response. But the question that triggered this, that I've been fascinated with for years, is why has it been increasing?
Mm-hmm.
It's a complicated question, but again, what I mentioned earlier is that in the studies that have been done who have looked at humans who still live the way that humans lived most of the time that we've been on this planet as hunter-gatherers, is they don't have any inflammatory disease at all, and not just on their skin. They don't have heart disease, they don't have diabetes. Interestingly enough, they don't sunburn, and they don't get skin cancer. They may not get cancer at all. And so what it's saying is it is possible. Humans once lived a disease-free life. The question that has motivated this company is, why can't we? And so in order to do that, we have spent years in academic research looking at what is behind it, and we discovered that we've lost about 80% of the microbiome that accompanied us all the way through evolution.
Ah,
And what's more important is not the specific microorganisms that we lost, but what they were doing for us. So we evolved blanketed in microbes that did things like protect us from ultraviolet and protect us
wow.
from oxidation, and then made all of these metabolites, nutrition that served us and our skin microbiome, and 80% of it's gone. 25% of the metabolic pathways are gone. And the other thing we've learned is that that was a function of living directly connected with the ecosystems in which we evolved. And we're not going back to live as hunter-gatherers. It might be healthy for our microbiome, but none of us would survive. It's a
Yeah, I don't know if
difficult
I want to
life.
roll in the dirt. Maybe one time a year, you know.
And this is really important. What we've discovered is what they were doing.
Mhm.
And I want to make it very simple. Fermentation is the
Mhm.
connection between us and the microbes that we have lost. So
Can you explain that? I feel like some people understand fermentation as like kimchi, right?
yes,
So
yep,
how are we doing that in skincare, and do we need that more in our diet as well?
yes, and yes.
Yes.
Can we
Let's.
over pre
Yes.
and probiotic ourselves? Can we over microbiome ourselves at this point?
Julia, this is
There's
a
no such
micro.
Okay.
This is a microbiologist question. Julia, please.
everything in moderation, but fermented foods, right?
Okay. Wow.
And fermented,
Need to up my game.
products.
Okay.
So, what is fermentation? Fermentation is a simple. It's microbes are incredible at making things, and fermentation essentially is that taking large molecules and breaking them down to smaller, more bioavailable, more absorbable molecules. It's essentially, in nature, microbes do that to compost things and make nutrients available for other organisms around them and themselves also, of course. So yeah, and exactly, we've heard about fermentation. It's kimchi, I mean, it's wine, it's sourdough. As humans, we've really accepted that and embraced fermentation. So and that's what we're doing at Symbiome as well.
So
Because
even in food, it's breaking it down to more absorbable molecules.
Especially in food.
Wow, I never realized that's what it was actually doing.
This is really important. As we've moved to more and more processed food, we have cut that connection.
Yeah.
And there's recent work that was published last summer by a group at Stanford, and they looked at a group that was eating a high fiber diet versus a group that was eating fermented food. It almost didn't matter which fermented food it was, whether it was yogurt or kimchi or kombucha or kefir, or as long as it didn't have a lot of sugar in it.
Mhm.
And what they found is the group that had on high fiber, they didn't see any real movement in terms of the biomarkers for inflammation and their gut diversity. But in the fermented food group, there were 19 biomarkers for inflammation that were reduced. The gut diversity increased, and most of that increase in the diversity was not from the microbes in the fermented food. It was microbes that were already present, but they were so starved, they were below the limits of detection. And what this means is that it's really pretty simple. Eat more fermented food. Look, if you forget everything that I say today, remember this: the biggest message from the microbiome is everything is connected, and those connections are ancient, and they're almost all microbial. And fermentation is the medium in which they're connected, and that is the wellspring of our resilience and our health, and perhaps ultimately our survival. So If you want to make a difference in your diet, start by finding fermented foods that you like and eat them every day.
I'm so excited by that study and just by this knowledge because, and having it compared to something where people always talk about high fiber, another, healthy diet, type of healthy diet, but to hear that something can actually reduce inflammation probably from its root, start treating it and start like you're preaching here, building the microbiome back up for our complete wellness.
And this is what we do with our products. So our products
Mhm.
are all ferments.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not this ingredient or that ingredient. It's the entire what we refer to as bio intact, the biologically intact. So the plants they're sustainably harvested from the Amazon, and if you look at the lipid composition of these plants, that is the fatty acids and the triglycerides, they look
Mhm.
an awful lot like human sebum. And I don't think that's an accident, by the way. And then they
Mhm.
are naturally fermented, again, the same way you would make wine. The microbes in that environment. So that's a reason we're staying within that environment, because it's the one that is so intact. And
Mhm.
then all these missing metabolic pathways, many of them will be expressed. And the fermentation is our connection to the microbial world. And that's why we're able to make these products with so few ingredients, because the ingredients are biologically intact. Look,
And so potent. Does the fermentation process then, as we talked about, it can increase basically the delivery of the products or increase the potency or both?
brilliant.
Oh,
Both. Look,
Yeah, amazing.
this um, bacteria have been around for 4 billion years.
Mhm.
Oxygen shows up about 2.7 billion years, and they solved all of the problems about living in ultraviolet within an oxygen environment. Animals come along, call it about 600 million years ago. Humans, 200,000, let's say primates, 700. We're not the pinnacle of evolution. We are these spoiled and arrogant newcomers. We are the
We're the babies.
we are the beneficiaries of this 4 billion-year-old biologic trust
Wow.
fund that solved every problem. So our formulation approach is, you know, keep it intact. It's got the
but
wisdom of billions of years. And, there's a tendency to say, oh, it's this retinoid or it's this niacinamide. And the answer is, yeah, of course it is. And what about all the stuff we don't know about? So we can do this with few ingredients because their potency, not just in terms of their composition, but in terms of how they've evolved to deliver this composition. you know, Look, the skin barrier, and we talk about this a lot, has a lot of functions. The most
Mhm.
important function was to keep water in, or we
Mhm.
would die.
Mhm.
It also is part of our immune regulation here. But these types of molecules, when they are prepackaged biologically, it's not that much of a barrier. And they're able to reach their site of action, and they are able to be absorbed because, again, the microbes and biology solved that problem a very long time ago.
I I mean, this is just so cool because really for our viewers, it's absolutely what I believe in, what I want them to understand in all of this marketing that we see constantly around us for wellness, health, disease, of it's complicated what you're saying a bit, but it really is so simple. It's like the world has told us what to do, and we're the ones that have walked away from us. And in the sense of marketing, yes, those ingredients, like you're saying, hyaluronic acid, niacinamide, whatever, those key terms that people really know are going to be great, but it's still a little bit of a chase without putting that just simplicity of the full puzzle together, which you've done within Symbiome. The Keep It Simple Sexy podcast is brought to you by KO Body Care. By now, you guys know I'm all about simple wellness habits. And the most important habit, in my opinion, is eating lots of fruits and veggies to boost your immunity and feel energized and youthful. The only problem, if you're as busy as I am, you're probably eating a lot of meals on the run. So I'm going to fill you in on my favorite hack. KO Body Care's clean, plant-based supplements. As the founder and CEO of KO Body Care, we spent so long getting these formulas perfect. And our customers are just as obsessed with them as I am. Our bestseller right now is our Vital Green Superfood Powder Drink Mix. Every scoop contains 25 superfoods that optimize your cellular health and performance. There's organic greens, antioxidant-rich berries, curcumin, and immune complex, and so much more. Unlike most green powders, this one doesn't taste like grass, guys. It's got a sweet berry flavor that even my kids love. Seriously, my oldest asks for it every day. Vital Green Superfood Powder is a staple in my pantry and in the KO collection, and when you try it, you'll know why. Order yours today at kobodycare.com and make sure to use your special code KISS20 for 20% off your first purchase. I'm going to get to your ingredients and your minimalism in a bit, and your sustainability as well, because I love that aspect. But since we're talking about the fermentation, you also have a really special process of cold pressing, or it's a cold emulsion process. And I think a lot of people have heard about that in their juices. So, and you completely eliminate the heat process in it. How do you do this, and what are the benefits of this?
I get letters from emails. No one gets letters anymore. I get emails from cosmetic formulators saying, we have a cream that has 3 ingredients. It's water, a fermented oil, and a lactobacillus ferment. And they say, you can't make an emulsion that way. It's impossible. And my response is, you're right, I can't. Bacteria have been doing it for billions of years. We just let them do it. So the way it actually works
cool.
is that, again, we need to think like a bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
These are problems they already solved if we just are able to listen and pay attention. So the way it works is that it's water and oil.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to get them to form an emulsion, you need an emulsifier. So we do this with chemical emulsifiers. But a biological emulsification system is much more complex than that.
Mm-hmm.
So it involves a number of different components. And the reason it's important is in these biologically intact materials, when you heat them up, what happens is many of the things like the enzymes are not thermostable. So when you heat them up, they will denature and they will lose their potency. By never having to heat these materials up, it preserves their potency. Obviously, there's also an advantage from a sustainability standpoint of not having to put that energy into the system. But from a biologic standpoint, the whole idea is that these problems are already, there's a term biomimetic, which has been around for a while, and it says, how do we learn from the biology rather than invent something ourselves? Look, we just decided we had a microbiome in the past 20 years. I was asked recently, what is the biggest myth in the microbiome? The biggest myth is that we know very much about it. We are just at the very threshold. This is a scientific revolution, and it is going to transform everything. And so with the humility of where science is a disciplined practice of wonder. It needs to be driven by our curiosity, but tempered by a sense of humility. Our knowledge is finite and our ignorance is infinite. So we look to the biology to tell us what to do. We look to the microbes to tell us what to do. And these emulsions, these bio-intact emulsions that we're able to do without putting energy on them, we didn't invent it. The biology invented it. We just applied it to try to restore the resilience.
Well, thank goodness. And the cream that you're talking about is absolutely amazing. I mean, all the products, I want to get into that too. But I mean, and in simple terms for people too, you think when you cook food, it starts to remove the nutrients. So it's the same thing here with heat and in creating products. So let's talk about your minimalism, 3-ingredient cream. And everything in your line has under 10 ingredients. Is it now 7?
Well, technically, our most complex formulation has 7. We've kept the number at 10, so we have some room as we grow forward.
I like it.
But so far, that is the most number of ingredients in there. And I want to make a point here. Everything is chemicals. So when people say,
Mhm.
well, there's no chemist, we don't use chemicals, they better be in the software business. Uh, but these are ingredients, and within those ingredients, there are a mind-blowing number of individual chemicals, most of which we haven't yet identified. These ferments, the closer you look at them, the more things you find. So we're not saying the number of individual identifiable chemicals is less than 7. What we're doing is using biologically intact compositions that were part of the evolution which brought us here.
Mhm.
So there are essentially an infinite number of chemicals in anything that we're making, but we're not doing it by putting this discrete ingredient and that discrete ingredient. One of the things we tend to do in modern world is we decimate an ecosystem and then we spot treat it. So think about agriculture. We damage the soil and we spot treat it with some fertilizer and a pesticide and then a fungicide and things like that. We're taking a very different approach. We're saying, instead of treating the problem, how do we restore the health? And the only way you can restore something is if you know what it looked like.
Aw.
And the past 5 years in this company have been around building that evolutionary reference point. This is what it looked like when everything was intact. And how much of this can we put back with these biologically intact ingredients to restore your resilience, which is the foundation of health? And health is beautiful.
And what's truly inspiring is that you're not only doing that within your products, you're also doing that within the environment. So, one of your main pillars in your missions is sustainability. And that you take that into the farm in Brazil that you use by using less ingredients, by not pulling them from around the world. You think about the planes, the trains, the cars, driving them in, treating those soils, like you're saying, making sure we're replacing it. You're really driven and focused into one area of an organic farm. There's so many things we could dive into here, but one, how did you find this farm, and what are some of the practices that you practice in sustainability there?
I would say it's pure luck that we made that particular connection.
I don't believe in luck, but yeah,
Um,
I think it was meant to be.
all right, let me rephrase it. Chance.
Hmm.
But chance, as Pasteur said, favors the prepared mind. And
Love.
so it's more than just organic, it's actually a biodynamic. So the way it works is, the initial plants are wild crafted
Hmm.
from the environment with communities of indigenous people under the auspices of what's called FUNAI in Brazil. But we do not want to stress that ecosystem. So when we use a plant, what we'll do is then this biodynamic farm will transplant some there. So we will never exceed the capacity of the wildcrafted. So as we grow, we're going to grow it into this farm that mirrors as much as possible the conditions. I'm going to introduce a word here, terroir, from French viticulture.
Hmm.
And this refers to, in winemaking, we used to think of it as the climate and the soil
Hmm.
where the plants are grown. But it's more complicated than that. It's literally the biologic imprint of all of the microorganisms there. So as much as possible, when these things are grown, we try to transplant not just the plants, but the microorganisms, so we can mirror as much of the natural biology. And all of this is done organic, sustainable, in a way that, in fact, restores the ecosystem in which they're grown. So this is, our goal with this partner, is that everything that we do, everywhere it touches, restores health, because health is not just an individual property of me or you. It is a property of the ecosystem. The word symbiome is a technical term. It
Hmm.
technically means all the organisms that are located in the same environment and evolving together. And you can define that environment as being microscopic, like the tip of your finger, or the entire globe. And what we're trying to do is, everywhere we touch, to restore things whenever possible. It's an ambitious undertaking.
It's so beautiful. I mean, truly, like, we've spoken with so many brands and having a brand myself too, but I just think that that's absolutely amazing that all of your efforts from the world to the skin, to the health, to your knowledge, having these amazing experts, Julia as well, and your whole team under you, to not only provide us with products, but it just seemingly continue to provide us with the knowledge, for our total health and well-being as well. So let's talk about your products and really dive in. If you, can you tell us about your line and about what your offerings are currently? Cream, oil, where can we start?
We have 10 products.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, isn't it, Julia? It's 10.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way, Larry.
I formulated them and I can't keep track of them.
I know.
I
get it.
And one of the things I think that's worth emphasizing here is there's a lot of discussion of personalization in our field.
Mm-hmm.
And the way these products are formulated is to replace what we've lost, but we've all lost it. So to a large extent, we don't need that degree of personalization, but the products are formulated in different categories to address the way people associate with the products, the relationships they have with them. So we have 2 creams. We have the one cream that is just a general moisturizer. It's rich in many of the pathways that we're missing. And then we have the Luminary, which is specifically formulated as an eye cream. As I said, we have 2 cleansers, one of which is a foaming cleanser and is formulated with a particular Amazon plant that has several, I'll use a technical term, monoterpene phenols. But these are kind of the building blocks of a lot of the chemistry. And it's both anti-inflammatory, and what makes it particularly interesting is that it is able to modulate the skin microbiome. And the other one is a oil-based cleanser. I'm particularly excited about this one because, look, we have a tendency to think that the sebum, the oil on our skin, is some toxic inflammatory substance and we need to wash it away. That is there to protect our skin. It is a highly evolved composition. And when you strip it off, your skin needs to replace it. This oil-based cleanser, again, as I said, the oils and the triglycerides and fatty acids in these Amazon plants looks very close to our sebum. So look, you put makeup on, you put sunscreen, you need to wash that off at the end of the day. This cleanser will remove it, but it will not leave your skin stripped. So it will not leave your skin bare and exposed to the stresses like pollution, etc.
I live by this cleanser. I love it so much. And I love like an oil cleanser, like you're saying. I remember being 20 and working in beauty, and it was always the most beautiful skin at 40, 50, 60 was those that, had oily skin, still had oily skin, or kept the oil, didn't laser it away and treat it away and Accutane it away, all that kind of stuff.
Yep. Then the next one is probably my favorite product, which is the Answer. And this is a unique composition, came out of work that long ago I was involved with in practice. We all have stem cells in our tissue. That's what regenerates our skin. So my grandson upstairs, his skin turns over every 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Mine probably every 3 to 4 months. And that's due to our stem cells differentiating into all the cell types that make our skin. But our skin is stressed. We have lost that layer of protection, so our skin is exposed to oxygen and UV, and it's missing all those nutrients. It's rusting and it's starving.
Oh man.
And our stem cells are what keeps up with this. But they are also starving. So this is the media. This is made from human adipocyte stem cells that are grown in culture, and we get rid of the cells and just the media. That is the food and nutrition for them to get back to work healthy and robust. And it's got 50% of that in there. And for almost whatever it is that you're looking for, this is part of the solution. And then it also has several of the Amazon plants in there that are there specifically both to make sure that your skin and your microbiome remain in balance. This is truly one of our, this is our bestseller. People love this product.
I love to, yeah.
There's 4 oils that combine different fermented oils from the Amazon. They either have 2 or 3 oils in them. And a lot of this is a question of they have specific properties, but foundationally they all have a major contribution to what we've lost. And then for the different properties, depending on what's going on with your skin, you may find that one or the other is a better fit for you. We have a body oil similarly formulated. Am I leaving something out, Julia?
No, I think that's the
Wow.
I bet you guys have some in formulation though too. Yeah,
We
absolutely.
do. We
And
formulate all our products. Yes.
And it comes down to like simplicity and what you're putting on too, because so many people have a lot of different skincare products in there or applying, their peptide serum and their this serum and their vitamin C, da, 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 da. And what's beautiful is that, you have your cream, your oils, your cleanser, and your brand. And for the person on the go, for the person who doesn't know where to start, and even for, the person that does have 1,000 different creams in there, we can simplify that too. Because if we're thinking about not only what our skin needs, but again, going back to sustainability in the environment, I love that. And really, truly, you have, impassioned me to get back to those basics too for our environment. And I appreciate that.
Look, we're all doing science experiments on our face,
Yeah.
And
it's what I love, though. But yes.
and I think we need to address the question of is less is more, and that each one of these experiments has implications for us. So we formulated these to make it incredibly simple and clean, and they're potent. So they actually deliver a response.
They really give the dewiest, most youthful skin, I can say firsthand. Well, thank you, both Larry and Julia, for joining me. We usually end the show with a speed round. And so I'd love to hear from both of you. I have 2 questions for you. 1, what is the first thing you do when you wake up?
drink coffee. Let's be honest.
You mean after we take the dogs, after the dogs go out? Okay. I start my day with kefir.
There you go, Larry.
Okay.
My husband brings me coffee in bed. I'm going to start with a shot of kefir every single morning now.
I actually prefer the goat milk kefir, but they're all good. Unsweetened, no
That's
sugar.
what I have to do too.
Yep.
Okay, I'm on it. I'm really going to do it. This is my own science experiment. I love testing it out. And what beauty or supplement product can you not live without? I mean, it can be food too, obviously, food be thy medicine.
And let thy medicine be food.
Yeah.
Julia, go ahead.
Well, fermented product, and the answer, truly, Symbiome's answer has been the answer to my skin after having kids, and being deprived of sleep.
It's same thing. The answer is look, these products are all our children. Julie and I have worked really hard on these. So when you say what's your favorite, that's a little bit difficult. It's not really that difficult because the answer is such a remarkable product that's my answer.
It's the answer. Yeah. Quick question for you too. We talked about our children. You have a grandson and his young little kids. It's never too young to put them on like a probiotic and get them starting to eat kefir as soon as they can eat those, or not kefir, but fermented foods as soon as they can eat those kind of things?
Julia, I know you have a point of view on probiotics in children, so
yes, but we don't have another half or an hour to discuss this, so maybe
you're welcome back and we can
on that topic. Yeah. But in true honesty, again, can't recommend probiotics right now, but fermented foods and yogurt, start them with yogurt for sure. beef or yogurt, whatever they can tolerate. But if you have children like mine, they spit sauerkraut at me all the time. So it's developing that
My
palate.
one would love it, my other one would not. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's an effort, but I would say build their appetite for fermented foods early if you can.
Early.
And make it a lifelong practice. We just don't know enough about manipulating the microbiome of children with probiotics yet for me to feel confident that I would, well, let's just say we're not doing it here.
Yeah, I love that. No, I agree with you. Well, thank you both, Larry and Julia, for joining us today. We actually have a code, KISS, for Keep It Simple Sexy. It's KISS, really simple. You go to Symbiome.com and it's 20% off your order. So the code is KISS. And at Symbiome.com, you can go to their Instagram. Please follow because they're just a wealth of information. If you can't tell, it's Symbiome Skin, SYMBIOME SKIN. And they even have a TikTok, and the TikTok is at Symbiome. So I can't wait to see what you're doing over there too, because it's usually really fun. I hope you guys enjoy your day with your kiddos. I hope, and your grandson, and I hope they take it easy on you today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you for joining me. I've learned so much from you today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting us.
And thank you, everyone. How amazing was that? I just learned so much about fermented foods, the good and the bad bacterias. And I don't know about you, but I am heading on my Instacart right now, downloading some kefir or getting some goat kefir as well. And I think I'm just going to go Google how to make it too. What do you think? All right, everybody. I hope you have a great day. Don't forget, head to Symbiome.com and use my code KISS for 20% off. I'm over there right now, and I'm definitely scooping up the answer. Thanks for listening. Make sure you're subscribed, and feel free to share this with a friend or family who needs to hear it. Have questions you need answered? Text me at 1-310-361-8697. Make sure you're following me on social at Christine Bullock, and have a healthy, happy week. See you next time.